Mentioned catering your personnel, so we're getting introduced to a whole new batch of running backs for the most part. What do you see those guys bringing to the table? Do you see using maybe a three-pronged approach?
I think if history tells us anything, we're going to need possibly a four-pronged approach. We go through backs pretty fast.
Yeah.
So, you like each guy. Each guy has his own strengths. The guys that we know the most about right now are certainly Ivory and Toren. Ivory's done a nice job. He's an explosive guy. He's bigger than you think. He runs bigger than you think. Does a nice job between the tackles, does a nice job in space, and is probably our fastest back in the open field. Mehki has just joined us. We don't know as much about him, right? But what we've seen we like. He's not a tall guy, but he's a big guy. And he runs with very good balance, and he's got some power behind everything he does. He manages to use all of his size as a runner. But there's some uncertainty there. We haven't seen him do it in a game. Toren's the guy probably we know the most about because he's been here 2 years.
Yeah.
And the one thing about Toren is he's a good, solid back. He may not be spectacular in any regard, but he's very solid, and he's probably the most trustworthy guy on the team. You want to talk about a great kid and a great person? Toren Young is that. What we're looking for in our program, 12 months a year, Toren Young is that. And you can't discount that as a player. So he just reminds me of one of those guys that he may not be spectacular in any regard, but those guys have done pretty well here. A guy like LaShawn Daniels, who was extremely productive.
You went to look at the Patriots this year. First of all, what was your biggest, you've been there obviously, but what was your biggest takeaway from this particular visit?
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway was that although many things have changed, nothing has changed, right? The core things have stayed the same there. And the message that was delivered every day there was identical to the message I remember being delivered. And I think that's a testament to why they are so consistent. They don't change anything. And that doesn't mean they don't evolve or they don't adapt, but they're not going to change fundamentally who they are, and they're not going to do it for any reason. So that was pretty striking. And then just a chance to be around some of the greatest teachers in the game is really encouraging to me. To be around Coach Belichick, to sit in a meeting again and listen to him teach, to listen to Dante Scarnecchia teach. There's guys in that program, guys like Brian Flores, who's going to do a tremendous job as a defensive coordinator. I remember when we were sharing an office breaking down tape, to sit in the back of a meeting room and listen to him run a defensive meeting was not only impressive, but it almost made me a little bit sentimental because I remember when we weren't running any meetings. But he's going to do a tremendous job. Just to be around those guys, the detail and the mastery of the fundamental parts of football, to hear those taught, not just the physical aspect, but also the game, right? There's no team in pro football that understands the game of football, the situations that can come up within a game, the rules. Nobody understands that better than the New England Patriots, and that's not just the coaching staff, that's the players. So to be around guys at that caliber is just a lot of fun. And then to see some old faces, familiar faces was pretty neat too.